EA just ended their E3 press conference and it wasn't good. How's it going, guys? My name is Luis, and like I just said, EA just ended their press conference today and it was a bit lackluster. There were some cool announcements and some cool gameplay reveals, but for the most part, EA started off the conference with a musical performance by some band I've never heard of, performing some music before leading up to Madden 18, which showed off the single player content called Longshot, the story mode for the game. I'm personally not super interested or invested into the sports series from EA, so I'm not going to pretend like I am and tell you guys the whole rundown of the single player content. The whole story seems pretty interesting, but as for me personally, I'm not super into the gameplay, so I'm not going to pretend like I am. However, after that, they showed off Battlefield 1 DLC, and that content genuinely looks really cool. They showed off some new maps, some new content that's coming out later this season, and it pretty much is more support for Battlefield 1. So if you picked up the game in November and you're still wanting to play it, still want to invest more into that game, you pretty much have the ability to do so with this brand new content coming out later this year. In terms of the new content coming to Battlefield 1, 6 new maps are coming out, including new vehicles and weapons, and more importantly, they teased a new game mode with close combat quarters that'll be fully revealed at Gamescom later this year. But other than that, just generally more love for Battlefield 1, and so if you're still playing that game, you can expect more content later this year. After the Battlefield 1 DLC talk, we got some more information on FIFA 18. Interesting enough, not anything about the Switch version, but straight up just FIFA 18 on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And the game looks like FIFA. Once again, I'm not super invested into the sports game, so I'm not going to pretend like I am. There was a super cringe song though. Other than that, it looks like the game is just getting a lot more mechanic improvements, so showing off more realistic animation and character motions with the motion cap that they do for the FIFA series, so if you're into the FIFA, you can look forward to that. Aside from FIFA 18, we got a look at Need for Speed Payback, which is essentially Fast and the Furious cross Need for Speed, at least judging by the gameplay. When I was live streaming and live reacting to the conference on my YouTube channel, a lot of you guys in the chat were describing it as GTA Heist in first person or car view, and I pretty much agree with that. It very much looks like heist gameplay, but in the form of a Need for Speed game, and I think I can get behind that. I'm not super into racing games, but it looks interesting and something I could at least dip my toes into when the game comes out. Now, this next game announcement was sort of a highlight for me of the conference. It's a game called A Way Out, and it's the next EA original indie game project between EA and the team behind Brothers, that old indie game that came out a while back. Now, when I originally played Brothers, I thought it was a very fun and emotional adventure indie game, so I got really excited when I heard that the same dev team is working on this new game with EA. It's a game where these two guys are trying to escape out of a prison. I don't really know too much about the context of the story, but they're trying to escape out of a prison, and that is the sole focus of the game because it's mostly focused on co-op gameplay. The entire game is in split screen view. Whether you're playing locally on the couch or online, you can only play this game with another person, and that is a very big deal, I think, with this type of gameplay. I think it's a really interesting take on the co-op genre, a genre that's really dying at this point in 2017, but I found the most interesting is that it shows pretty much different views of the same gameplay. So while someone is probably being interrogated in a cutscene, you can actually play the game still while they're experiencing a cutscene on the same screen. It's really interesting to describe, and it really gets me excited for this game from a gameplay aspect. I'm not super invested in what I've heard and seen about the story so far. I hope it's just as emotional as their original game, but gameplay wise this looks very exciting, and I'm really interested to see the full game once it comes out and get my hands on it. Now, the next two announcements were sort of like teasers for the Microsoft conference. EA pretty much showed off screenshots / animations of Madden running on Project Scorpio and what that looks like in 4K, though we were streaming the live stream at 1080p, so it's nothing too impressive from a live stream standpoint. We can't really tell the detail, but I'll take their word for it. You can expect that on tomorrow's conference for Microsoft, and we also got a reveal of BioWare's new game called Anthem. It looks like a space exploration game set in the future. We got some looks at the environment and where the planet is, where the game takes place, but we don't really know much other than that. The characters sort of look like mech suits cross Destiny characters. It looks interesting. We'll hear more about it at Microsoft's conference tomorrow, but other than that, we didn't really get too much information about the game, and we'll just have to wait till tomorrow to hear more about it. The second to last game that was shown off was NBA Live 18, which pretty much looks like they're combining features of NBA Live and NBA Street into a single game, and I can get behind that. I'm a big fan of NBA Street, pretty okay with the NBA Live series, but I think NBA 2K has been stealing their thunder for a while now, so it looks like EA is pretty much trying to regain that audience attention. Whether or not NBA Live will actually do that, I guess we'll find out in a few months, but to describe the game as EA themselves described it, LeBron is looking like LeBron.
And then there we have it. The bronze looking like it's bronze.
EA's marketing is just maravillosa. The last thing we saw was the multiplayer gameplay reveal of Battlefront 2, and it looks pretty much what I expected, an improvement upon Battlefield 1, and what a lot of people were saying in the chat of my live stream, what Battlefield 1 should have been, and I agree. Since Battlefront 2 covers parts of the prequel trilogy as well, you also aren't limited to just like the terrain maps, you're also in parts of the city in episode 1, and it looks more colorful and vibrant, and I really appreciate that. It seems like Battlefront 1 was mostly terrain and open world environment areas because that's where the original trilogy took place, but the prequel trilogy offers new vast settings and locations that I think will offer interesting gameplay. For example, having a map based on episode 1 in a city where it's more close combat and close quarters offers interesting new gameplay in the multiplayer mode. Speaking of gameplay, they showed off a game mode that's pretty much operations from Battlefield 1 but in Battlefront 2 with the Star Wars setting, something I could definitely get behind, and if we get more maps that actually support that game mode, I would love to see something like the Jedi Temple with Execute Order 66. I think that would be pretty freaking badass. But in general, it looks like Battlefront 2 is what Battlefront 1 should have been, with much more content. To be precise, EA said it features 3 times the content of Battlefront 1, so it's about a game and a half now. Some other cool information we learned about the game is that it'll feature split-screen co-op, so you can play co-op locally now in Battlefront 2. There's also free content now, so all the DLC is free DLC, and the first part of that DLC will be Captain Phasma and Finn as playable characters. Though I would argue, if you're gonna have Rey and just in general Star Wars Episode 7 and 8 content in your game, why not have Finn as a launch character? That seemed a little bit weird. Also different from Battlefront 1 is that Battlefront 2 will actually feature a story mode / single player mode where you play as someone in the Empire around the time when the Death Star blows up, and you sort of see that untold part of the story and see the aftermath of episode 6 essentially between episode 6 and episode 7. Actually, speaking of the story mode, the main voice actress for the main character in Star Wars Battlefront 2 was presenting the game to the E3 press conference audience, and she did a magnificent job presenting it, not just as someone that worked on the game, but someone that was truly invested into the series. So I definitely appreciate that, because we did have a few celebrities and YouTube sensations that were there that really felt sort of out of place, to be honest. No disrespect to them, they just didn't seem like they were ready to present.
Thank you for having me, EA. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jesse Wellens, and I am a YouTube creator. So I am here to talk about Need for Speed Payback. If you guys didn't know, Need for Speed Payback,
But in general, Battlefront 2 is shaping up to be a much better game than Battlefront 1, taking into consideration all the criticism from fans and celebrities like John Boyega when making Battlefront 2, and I can definitely get behind that. It seems like it's a great game so far, and I'm excited to see more of it and see what parts of the universe this game is going to touch. But that was pretty much the entirety of EA's press conference. Sort of a letdown for me, to be honest. I really liked A Way Out, and I thought Battlefront 2's gameplay looked interesting and fun. But other than that, nothing super interesting or investing for me. I'm interested to hear more about Anthem, but we didn't really get too much information at EA's own press conference, so we'll have to wait till Microsoft's conference tomorrow to learn more. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you didn't see the conference, I'll have a link to the full conference in the description down below. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Shit, hold on. They did like a mobile Star Wars thing that's already out. Okay, bye.